Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about subtracting integers, and there is a rule when we talk about subtracting integers. We've already walked across the number line, we've done the counters, but now we're going to look at what the rule is for adding integers that sums up what it means to subtract integers. To subtract integers, we want to try not to subtract. Instead, we want to think of it as adding the opposite. So instead of subtracting 3, so if we have, like, for example, 5 minus 3, which we know to be 2, instead of subtracting, what we're going to do is we're going to say that's a 5 plus negative 3. Okay, and that's going to help us when we get into these more complex operations, when we're subtracting negatives, or we have negatives minus negatives, those kinds of things. And so let's look at an example. Let's look at example 1. The temperature on Monday was negative 5 degrees Celsius. On Tuesday, the temperature rose to negative 2 degrees Celsius. What was the temperature change? Now you're thinking to yourself, okay, 3, what are we doing? This is a simple example to help us illustrate. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, where did it go? Because we're going to look at what the temperature change was. Well, to look at what the change was, we're going to start with, here's where we're at now. We're at negative 2 degrees Celsius. And we're going to subtract from that what it was. Like if it's 70 degrees today, we subtract the 40 that it was yesterday, we get the rise of 30 degrees. So we're going to start with negative 2. We're going to subtract a negative 5. And of course, we're going to put this negative 5 in parentheses so as not to confuse ourselves. Well, instead of subtracting, I'm going to look at this rule that says adding the opposite. So I'm going to change this to add the opposite. Add the opposite. And so I really have negative 2 plus 5. Plus, so that'd be plus 5. Well, when I do my rules for addition, I've got 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. So I do 5 minus 2 equals 3. Which one has the larger absolute value? Well, it's 5. And so my temperature change was 3 degrees. Well, we also can see that it rose. So it should be positive 3 degrees. In example 2, we've got straight numbers. So straight examples that are going to give us a skills practice. What does it say? We've got negative 7 minus 2. And so I'm subtracting integers, so I'm going to write myself a note. Add the opposite. So instead of negative 7 minus 2, I'm going to do negative 7 plus a negative 2. Well, notice, now I have same sign. So absolute value of negative 7 is 7. Absolute value of negative 2 is 2. So 7 plus 2 would be 9. I keep the common sign. Negative 9. So negative plus a negative, positive. Same thing here. I'm going to not subtract. I'm going to add the opposite. So I've got negative 1. That's a 2. Crazy. Negative 1 plus, so I got to change this to a plus and change this to a plus. Negative 1 plus 3. Once again, now I have different signs, so I'm going to do absolute value of negative 1 equals 1. Absolute value of 3 equals 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 minus 1. I'm going to keep the larger absolute value. So 3 is a larger absolute value, so it's going to be a positive 2. Letter C, same thing here. So now we have two positive numbers, so I'm going to make this 3 plus a negative 5 instead of 3 minus 5. Well, I do 5 minus 3 gives me 2. Larger absolute value is there, so I do a negative 2. Okay? Same thing here. Negative 8 plus, so I'll make this a plus, add, so change it to add, and the opposite. So negative 8 plus 4. So I'm going to do 8 minus 4 gives me 4. And the larger absolute value here, there we go. Okay? That's the basic gist of it. Change it to add the opposite. Apply the rules for adding integers. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.